everybody, you're watching Marvel Live, and we're here with Tom Taylor.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Really, really well. I should talk into this.
You should talk into that so we can all hear you.
Yeah.
You are so busy. I feel like you're working on so many things. Tell me what all you're working on. And I think you have some
world?
in the Marvel world.
Yes.
In the Marvel universe.
Yeah, so currently I'm writing, I've just been announced on a new Star Wars book.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I wrote Star Wars years and years ago, and it's fantastic to come back to that galaxy. I guess I wrote it a long time ago. Anyway.
In a galaxy far, far away.
That's right. And I'm doing the new era. So I'm writing Rey and Finn and Poe, and I sort of had my choice of era, and I went, you know what, I want to write this because that's what my son loves, and seeing Last Jedi with him and seeing his excitement, I went, yes, I'm going to write your heroes. Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then I'm also obviously writing X-Men Red, writing Adamantium Agenda, which is a team up with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Man and Spider-Man and Laura. And I've just come off 3 years of Wolverine. And I'm writing something else, but we can't talk about it yet. But it's...
Ooh, secrets.
Yes.
Boy, Marvel's all about secrets. I love it.
Busy guy.
Yeah.
I feel like, too, you've set up so much sort of canon for Laura, and now Laura is with Tamiko Maraki.
Yeah.
Mariko Tamaki, there we go.
Yeah.
Switched. What is it like to see some of your little babies graduate and go on to live other creative teams and then take on new works?
It's incredible. Like I just did the X-Men panel, and CB announced Honey Badger on that panel, and the crowd went wild for it. It's just it's so lovely. And when you've worked for so long on a book like that, and I wrote Laura and Gabby for 3 years,
right?
And it's actually terrifying to think of someone else playing with your toys that you have such an ownership of. That's right. And I was actually quite scared to read Mariko's work, and I read it, and it's such a great book. It is fantastic. Read it. If you haven't read it, it is so good. X-23 #1. And Juan Cabal, I love that man. And they were emailing me saying, "Oh, trust me, you're going to be happy." And they took what we did. They didn't throw it out. They went, it's a continuation of your work, but also pushing it forward in a beautiful way.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, no. Now, you mentioned Adamantium Agenda. That lineup of characters is
It's
awesome
so much
because they
fun.
haven't really been seen together. What's that dynamic like? Because there's so many characters that you don't really see hanging out all the time.
This is the thing. Like, my job is getting to play with the greatest toys in the world.
Yeah, right.
And getting, it's my first time writing Spider-Man, and obviously I wrote Iron Man for about a year, but he was a terrible person at the time. It was Superior Iron Man. So getting them and getting Jessica Jones, who I've loved since Alias, which I got my mum when she came to America. I'm not from here. If you didn't realize that. She was coming to America, and I got her to bring all the Alias trades back. And this was years ago, before I was a comics writer, so I've loved Jessica Jones. And getting to play with those characters interacting, there's something that sparks fly. They work so well together.
That sounds so fun.
Is there one combo that you were really excited to get to, that you're like, oh, when I write this is going to be my magnum opus. This is going to be so good.
Look, Wolverine was like that. And obviously, when you get offered X-Men, that is insane.
True,
I was at a party in Sydney for a friend, and it was at the top of a very loud hotel in a bar, and I got the call at 1 a.m. because people forget that I'm in Australia.
Right.
And they're like, and I can't hear a thing. X-Men? Like, what? X-Men? Hang on. And I literally, so when I actually understood what was being offered, I was hiding in a toilet cubicle in Sydney. So that's how, you get the X-Men gig, is hiding in a toilet. Yes, I want to write X-Men. Thank you. Yeah. And I put half the team together in that toilet cubicle on the phone to Mark Paniccia. Yeah.
It's nice.
I never went back to the party.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just hung out in the bathroom.
That's right. Comics are so glamorous.
So you mentioned that now you're writing kind of your kids' heroes.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you ever think that you would be in a cubicle getting the call? Did you dream about it
not.
even? Because some kids are like, that would be neat, but they don't end up doing it.
So
you're doing
I am currently possibly the only full-time comic book writer in Australia. There's a
Really?
So you have a club, and it's just you.
And it's just me. There's a wonderful man called Andrew Constant who's writing a bit, and there's a few of us, but I'm the guy who does it every single writing for Marvel, and it's unbelievably exciting. And no, there is no way known that I would have, if I could go back and tell me back then, drawing my little Iron Man figures and things when I was 6 and stuff, hey, you get to write these guys one day, you will get to control their lives. That's mind-blowing. And I didn't think it was possible in my early 20s. I didn't see this. I used to be a professional juggler. I used to eat fire and juggle knives for a living, and I grew up on stage in musicals. And to make that transition to this it's insane.
I will say there are a strange amount of people in comics who love musicals.
Yeah.
Yes, that's because musicals are wonderful. I met my wife in a musical. So I was the singing coordinator and script coordinator of a musical with 160 cast, and she was the dance coordinator. And I can't dance and she can't sing. And we were like,
I need you to
Complete
complete me.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So, question: you have a lot of characters that you bring such like sort of lightness and joy.
Yes.
To some really dark places,
Yes.
Is that something that you're sort of attracted to? Is like the duality of life, or what?
No, it's more that I often get asked to write dark characters, but I like inspirational characters. I like hope and goodness and light and unicorns and puppies. It's a better way to be. And I think one of the reasons the Marvel movies do so well is because people want to see something better and something aspirational, and they like great people who just want to do good things. Saving the world. And that's what I like writing. That's why I love so many Marvel characters. That's why we have Jean Grey at the moment coming back to life and seeing a world that she doesn't quite recognize or like that much, and wanting to make it a better place.
It's so nice.
You got Lorraine. You got to the core.
Feelings.
I saw Lorraine just like, that was great. So you talked about Star Wars a little bit.
Yeah.
You're writing. So what is the difference? Like, it's kind of different writing, superheroes and then going into this kind of like space. What's the process like when you have to write, kind of live in two worlds?
It's just about the characters. You nail the characters first. You get their voices. You work out what makes them tick. I think every single writer or any creator, anybody working with other people's toys owes it to become a fan. If you're not a fan already, you must be a fan by the time you start writing them.
Right.
You have to know them backwards, inside and out, to really give the fan service, basically. So you need to know why they're fantastic. So it's not that it's a superhero book. It doesn't. The genre doesn't matter so much. Space opera and superheroes. There's a lot of intersection there. But you've just got to know who Finn is. You've got to know who Poe is. You've got to know who Rey is. Get their voices and what makes them tick.
Is there one you like more than the other? Like you're like I kind of like.
Well, my son's favorite character is actually Rose Tycho.
Yeah.
So I have to find a way to bring Rose into it for sure. So I'll be talking to Lucasfilm and Mark about that very soon. Yeah.
So when it's like playtime at home, you constantly refer to the characters as like your toys that you have ownership of. Now that the toys are not exactly yours, you literally have a kid that you can play toys with.
Yeah.
Do you see your kid could you see your kid writing these stories before you? Is it in your genes,
100 times yes. Like both my sons, Finn and Connor, hello. They are both, like Finn is a fantastic writer. I mean, I also work in television, which has nothing to do with this, but my son, my 12-year-old, has an IMDb page. He's been in the writing room of my TV show with his hot chocolate and, in his cup. That's right.
No.
Yeah.
We need to go through these beats.
But, and his instincts are fantastic. And when I read his writing, his cadence is similar to mine. His jokes are similar to mine. It's so cute. He's actually he's just watching the second season of The West Wing at the moment. So, and he's 12.
A tiny Sorkin.
That's right. So he's got a lot of Aaron Sorkin already ingrained in there, which I love, And he's the biggest Marvel movie fan in the world. Wow. Yeah. So yes, I think he will write for Marvel one day. Yeah.
So if your family were to create, this is just a hypothetical question that I need to know for my own personal edification.
Yep.
If your family were to create a musical of one of your Marvel comics,
yes,
which one would you choose? Which would you like to musicalize?
Oh, what a wonderful question. That's too good a question. It'd be All New Wolverine. The All New Wolverine. Oh. Jonathan would get a solo.
Oh my gosh.
It would be amazing, wearing with the translator.
Yes. So that you can understand his little.
That's right.
Type sounds.
And I mean Jonathan and Gabby and Laura, and we'd put Deadpool in there as well, and all the characters.
A clone chorus line.
Yes, all the sisters. And they just drop off one by one. Sorry.
Oh, so sad. So sad, but so right.
Yeah. That would be it for sure.
So going back to X-Men, you mentioned X-Men Red. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I love comic book titles when it's just like the team and then just a word, and you're like, what does that mean? Because that makes it kind of more exciting. So speak a little about X-Men Red.
So X-Men Red, if you haven't read it, it's Jean Grey has been resurrected. She's come back to our world at a time when, I mean, you know, when she died, there was no Twitter, you know, things like that.
She missed smartphones.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a very different world, and I guess it's shit for her because she's an Amiga level telepath, so she can feel the anxiety permeating throughout the entire world, and she wants to fix it because she's amazing. And she assembles a team, including Laura and Gabby. So I was very happy to get them onto. I mean, Gabby is now an X-Men. That's amazing. And Nightcrawler and Gambit and Namor and who else is on there? Gentle, and we created a character called Trinary, or maybe Trinary. I don't know. I created her, but I don't know how to say her name.
Well, you know, you get to choose.
It is Trinary. It is Trinary.
That's
okay?
canon.
Yes, that is canon now.
Someone
Trinary.
Tweet it, write it phonetically, and then it will live on the internet forever.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
So and Trinary, who's a technopath from India, and it's this team of people who are coming together and essentially trying to change the world. Like politically, they're in at the United Nations, creating a new mutant nation. And right now they're under the sea. So they have an X-Atlantis, and they have a place called Cerebro with SEA, which is the worst pun ever. But it was Gabby's pun. So Gabby, Honey
earned.
Badger, she has been talking to Jean in the last issue to make sure that it gets called Cerebro. And she's like, you may be an Amiga level telepath, but I'm going to get in your head. And she's just like, Cerebro.
Honestly,
So
she
funny.
speaks to me so much because many people have probably seen here on Marvel Live, I do make a lot of puns to the audience, and they go, and I'm like,
That's right.
yeah, give it to me. Oh,
It
yeah.
feeds
Embrace it.
Embrace it.
Yes.
I love it. You can't stop me.
Good.
Well, the pun game is definitely strong here. I'm kind of the noob in the Marvel family.
Yes.
And so one thing that I realized like that I knew I'd fit in just fine is the pun game is very strong
Good.
amongst all of us, I would say.
Fantastic.
So hearing about this Cerebro thing, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
why I'm here. That's
Yes,
fine.
CB Sobolski in our X-Men panel said, yeah, it's like the greatest pun in recent Marvel times. I'm like, yes. And then we told the audience, and they went,
How dare you,
Right.
audience?
Yes,
I'm 100% on your
that's right.
side.
Yes.
So, as far as some of your panels and stuff you've gotten to do
Yeah.
here at San Diego, tell us everything.
Oh, well, you know, we've just
What all
done the
have you
X-Men.
done? Yeah. All
We've
the
just
things.
done the X-Men panel earlier today with who was on that? Matthew Rosenberg and Cena Grace and CB, and that was great. Just telling people, you know, hearing the love for these characters, and particularly being able to create a character like Gabby with
Right.
David Lopez, and you know, hearing the cheer that went up when CB mentioned her name. It's like that's amazing.
That's the best.
You know, you talk about would young Tom, who you know couldn't afford comics. That was one of the things. Like I was not wealthy when we were young, when I was living with my mom, and the idea that I not only get to write comics but create characters for Marvel, that's huge. You know, it's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it makes me very happy. So getting that buzz from the audience and hearing how much they're loving X-Men Red and hearing some of the new announcements and X-Men Black, and obviously we can talk about Uncanny X-Men's coming in the fall because that was
Yeah.
announced.
All right.
I hope. Yes, no,
I
that
guess
was
we
definitely
hope-
announced.
Yeah.
It was definitely
tell
announced.
us, because
yes, that's all that was announced.
We're still getting the info
Yes,
over
no
here.
creative team announced yet, but Uncanny X-Men coming in the fall. Who knows? Amazing though to have that title back.
Yeah.
And yesterday we did Marvel Live, and that was fantastic with this little known man called Donny Cates.
Oh, yes.
I've heard of
He's
him.
only writing everything.
Yeah.
He's very good though.
Yeah.
I love his work. I really every book he touches. It's great. Yeah.
So you've had obviously a lot of success, and you say, young Tom couldn't even believe it.
No.
So we have one fan question here, and I'm sure everybody gets it a lot, but it's, what are your tips for someone who wants to get into comics?
Someone who wants to get into comics. So just do it. It's a really good job. I like it. But no, you've got to be committed. You've got to make sure that you're in this for the long run. You've got to, if you want to be a writer, you need to write every single day. You need to be disciplined. You need to set yourself deadlines. Otherwise, you will never finish anything ever. And I wouldn't either. And everything is practice. And it's the same with art. It's, you know, you can't expect to just walk up and be, you know, Mahmoud Azra or someone straight away. I mentioned earlier that I used to be a professional juggler. So I used to eat fire and juggle knives for a living, which is weird. But when I decided I wanted to be a professional juggler, I couldn't juggle. I just thought it looked cool. So I stood in a park for 2 years dropping things, until I didn't drop them so much, until I could juggle knives over complete strangers without killing them on the streets, And it's the same with writing. I went, I'm going to write, and I've written every day, and there's no days off. Being a professional writer is having homework for the rest of your life.
There you go.
Yeah, and also give up on sleep. Yeah, gets in the way. Yeah, that's terrible advice.
but good advice. This is true.
Yeah,
and don't juggle knives over strangers unless
you've
a trained
practiced.
professional.
Yes, and just don't, because sometimes things go wrong.
Well, thank you so much for talking
Thanks
with
for
us
having me.
today.